Right, so today we are going to do hexa meshing or block meshing for common research model. I've done common research model half body meshing before. What's the difference is that this time it's a full aircraft model and we got the added horizontal and vertical tails to the common research model. For those of you who don't know common research model, just Google it. It's the NASA's model for research purposes in aerodynamics and fluid dynamics. So there's a lot of results published in the public domain. It represents a transport airliner. So we are going to block it. The first thing I did before that is just make sure that almost all the curves are red, which means they're well connected. So this is an airtight geometry, which is going to be less problematic if you think about that. So that saves us a lot of time. So I've also added a far field, which is almost 100 chord lengths away, which is quite far. It doesn't need to be that far. It can be about 30-40 chord lengths away. What I'm going to do next is just create a zone called fluid or live. In this case, I'll keep it as fluid. Project vertices option on and apply. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly just create a new part called I forgot to create this new part called outlet. So this is going to be my outlet from the surfaces. This will be my outlet, and these will be my walls, wind tunnel walls. So this is an electronic wind tunnel, and now the inlet is this. So we've done it. We got the inlet, the walls, and the outlet. Okay, now I can go to the wireframe view, and I've already initialized the blocking of a fluid zone, and what I need to do is now just associate. First thing you do is always associate edges to curves. I'm going to not turn the curves on, which is why it's let me actually close the blocking and start again, because I want to keep the replay script, replay control feature on, and now I'm going to create blocking again. So fluid by associate edges. So this replay control will record my commands of what I'm doing. Then I can replay it for another project that involves similar kind of geometry. So I don't need to repeat everything I'm doing. Okay, so all the curves are done. Just for just to avoid any problems, I'm just also going to associate the points. Okay, so that's done. Can start with my initial blocking. So what I do is just look at from the front, look at it from the front, and I'm gonna split it, turn the points off and split it. Yes, yes. This is for the, these two is for the wings. Yeah, okay, and this one to close the fuselage. this one to close the vertical tails, one to close this side, two for the fuselage, and one more for the tail, and one here for the edge tail. Okay, so this should be enough to represent it from the front. Just gonna double check if I made any modifications in the geometry. Yeah, so now I'm gonna view it from the Z view, so and then split the block from here, from here, from here, from here, one from here, one at the end of V-tail, which can also represent the end of H-tail, so that's not a problem, and the end of aircraft. So that's all the splitting that you need to do. Well, even now it's got a lot messy, so we need to start using index control, which we will do, and select, you can select this corner and this corner. Okay, now I'm going to create an index set. Save this as an index set, add and save as stage 1 solids, saved, and see, it is right there. So imagine if I did reset it by mistake or whatever, you can just go to show and select this one. You can create other index sets for areas you are interested in. That's gonna save you some time with complicated geometries. So click that by mistake, happens. Right, now we're gonna have to create the solid parts, and to do that we need to create different solid parts. So what I usually do is create fuselage solids separate, and to do that I am just going to move this guy just a bit to the where to move. Okay, maybe here, and I need to hide from K direction. Okay, and also in this way, and in J1. So these are the blocks that represents the fuselage. What we can do is now we can just click, everything we see is fuselage solids. Can we start with the, yes we can, but before we do that let's just merge this. So go to merge blocks, selected, and okay, now we have one block, which makes things a lot easier to look at. Right, okay, so now we're gonna have to create now I'm thinking whether we first move this around or we start with the, I always like to start with the wings and the tails before I go on to do anything with the fuselage. So let me just reset index show, done, and I know that the bottom block is not for the wing, so I'm gonna ignore that. Right, again let me just show you. So the bottom block is not for the wing, the top two blocks is not, and this is for the wing. Apparently I have split it a bit up, but um, that doesn't change the meaning of the block. So I'm just going to move these in X direction. Just going to move one of them, and then I'm going to set position. Use set position to fix my X positions for corresponding vertices so that they remain in the correct position. Okay, that's fine. And just going to move this to here and this here. Now when we do that, the edges which are hidden will be which vertice will still be in the wrong place, which we will correct later. For this one I'm gonna use this and these two. Okay, so that's the shape that we want. We can move these vertices as well. Just manually just fix everything else and move them a little bit back. We are gonna have to move these way back so that they don't intersect with the tail. One thing we can use is just use set position and fix the X for the rest of the vertices. So this and this. Okay, so that's what we have done until now. We also need to move this in the, because this will be somewhat let me just have a double check. No, this will be at the end of the tail, so somewhere like here. And even in this. I'm just doing this so that we don't confuse ourselves later on. So when things are still much more simpler, we can manage to move them around without overcomplicating it. Okay, and from this way as well, maybe a bit. Right. Okay, so we have something. Now we need to declare them as solids. So what I'm gonna do is hide in I direction, and this is my solid blocks. So create path, wing solids, and this, and this. Okay, now I can start with associating. I'm gonna do the tails later, so I can start associating them. Just use associate edge to curve to start with this. I need to turn on the project vertices option on. So let me just pause the video, associate these wings surfaces, and come back. Okay, so I've done some associations. Just did some curve to edges here and curve to edges here and here. But at the tip, because the surface, I'm gonna turn the far field on and the walls, off. If I show you that the tip is round, so we cannot use a normal kind of splitting to get that roundness. So what we do is we introduce another split, which before that we're gonna have to move this a bit far out in the Z direction. So I have done that. here, and I'll do it on this side as well. Just do it on this side as well. Okay, so we've done that. Now I'm gonna introduce a split. Before I introduce that, I'm gonna turn on the internal edges in the fluid zone. Where is it? Edges, internal, all, reset. Okay, so I have done that. Just gonna click index set show again. Done. And move, because I only want the wing to be split and I do not want anything else. Okay. Right. So back to where we were, and I'm going to introduce this split here, which we will associate to this curve, and introduce another split here. So that's how you can get the roundness of the tip. And now I can associate this edge to the curve. So associate this, and this to this. Correct. And we need to associate this edge to this edge to the extension of the curve as well, and then glue this point here and this point here. Right, so that should get us the correct roundness of the tip. I'm gonna have to do the same thing here as well. So associate this to these curves, maybe move them around a bit, so here and here, and this one a bit to the front. So this is coming from the Z direction. I can try and fix the Z and Y position for this. Okay. I also need to associate this to the extension curve here, which is something I added personally. So this and this. Okay, so now I can glue this to this point and this to this point. Right, that's almost all the wing associations that is necessary except for the trailing edge. So the trailing edge, I need to definitely associate the edges to the curves, which is not too hard, but and this one here. Okay, so see if we have done it right. Associate edge. Okay, it's fine. We need to do the same thing on the other side as well. This thing is to go to the quarter chord position. So here and here, here and here, here and here. Like this. Okay. Now, what I have to do is just make sure that everything is in the right position. So maybe this, maybe a bit more front, and even this one a bit more front towards the leading edge. And then I'm going to have to use linear splits to get the airfoil shape on the edges. So I'm going to have to do a lot of splits on the places. For the airfoil shapes, it's not that hard, but when we move on to the trailing edge, it is very important in the case of CRM because this aircraft has a twist. Let me just turn off whatever that is in yellow color. I think it's the outlet and the far field. Okay, yeah, and the walls as well. So this aircraft has a twist rather than a straight wing. It's bent right in the middle, going up like this. So it's like this. So we need to get that shape on the edges, which we can do by splitting the edges on the trailing edge. So I'm just going to show you that just one part where I'm just linearly just splitting it slowly, but making sure it's done right. It's very, very important in the case of CRM. So I'm gonna keep doing this for this edge, this, and on the other side as well. So I've done the trailing edge, the trailing edge linking, or splitting the edges into small bits by linear splits. Now I can use some linking power or linking capability of ICM. So I'm going to use an upper edge, like the upper edge of this trailing edge, to link it to this edge. And this way I can get the shape of the twist that's represented on the trailing edge surface curves to the edges where they don't have curves. And I can also use this edge to link this edge and this one to this. But this saves me a huge amount of time. So wrong edge. So this one to this and this upper edges, and this one, sorry, this one to this, and this one, this to, or you can even manually do it using linear splits if it is your first time doing something like this. That way you learn what you are actually doing. Okay, so we've done the wing quite well, I would say, except we need to introduce a split right before the actually, let's ignore it for now. Okay. We can do that later. Let's just try and associate, move these around. So this surface, I want to move these vertices in the X and Y direction until they hit the wing surface. So somewhere here and somewhere here. Okay, and here I have the edges, and I can use linking again. Oh, okay, so this one to this one. Right, so we got that shape done, and if you look now, we have something on the side which can be correct kind of topology. You can do the similar thing for this side as well. Okay, so let's move these vertices again. Don't know where they have gone. This way and this way. Maybe move them in Z direction until they just enter the wing surface. Let's see where they are. Maybe it's a bit above here, like I guessed. So again, I pushed it too far back, so that's a problem. Keep it here. I'll try to move them in that direction. Okay, and let's link again from this bottom edge to this edge, this edge to this edge. Okay, so now we have something there as well. Right, so until now we have only done the wing, and we got the solid blocks for the fuselage, but we haven't really moved around the vertices, which we do need to do. So in part 2, I guess, because this part's gone over 27 minutes, in part 2 we will continue this walk.